What's up everyone, Anton Anderson here, one of the co-founders of Elite Resource Team, and in today's video I wanted to speak to the advisors, the agents, the tax professionals that already have a partnership and give you 4 tips on how to really maximize the opportunity of those partnerships. Before I did that, in case you're not familiar with Elite Resource Team, we are a multidisciplinary firm, which means under one roof we have tax attorneys, CPAs, financial advisors, insurance agents. And in a lot of these videos, I like to just provide free content, insight if you are one of those professionals looking to grow your business through partnerships, what to consider. So in a previous video that I did, I talked about how to identify and contact the ideal tax professional. That was geared towards financial advisors and insurance agents. So this one's kind of a follow-up to that. I wanted to let you know, once you've got those relationships that have actually expressed some interest, you've engaged them, meaning you've both metaphorically shaken hands and said, yeah, this sounds like a relationship that would create a win-win opportunity. What's next? That is, unfortunately, where people think they want to get to, but what they don't realize is, yeah, it's hard to get to that spot, but it's really really hard to get to the place where you monetize the relationship from there. What does that mean, to monetize the relationship? That means the two of you have conceptually agreed, but now it's time to make some money, to benefit some clients, to actually put the, like they say, the pedal to the metal. So here are 4 tips for those of you who have gotten to the point where, yeah, we've conceptually, we've engaged, we've agreed to move forward. The 4 things I want to talk about. First of all, you got to formalize that relationship. And let's talk about what that actually looks like. What do we need to discuss and how do we formalize it? Also, get educated together, the importance of doing that. Weekly meetings. A lot of times in early relationships, we feel like, whoa, weekly meeting, that's a lot to commit. And let me talk about the importance of that, maybe some variations of it, but really what the goal should be of those meetings. And I'm going to give you a free template to use in those weekly meetings also. And then last but not least, scripted intro, and why that is so important when you're actually starting to sit down with joint clients. All right, so let's start at the top. Formalize the relationship. Like it sounds, let's actually spell out what we're doing here. The first one, which is typically the biggest, that people are kind of scared to touch, is how are we each making money? I have another previous video you'll find on YouTube that talks about monetizing the relationship, and I go through the different ways that we can actually monetize that, but that has to be tackled early on. I remember one CPA partnership I had, my background's as a financial advisor, and we'd been working together for about 8 months. We had just closed our first piece of business together, multiple cases in the pipeline. I was driving to the CPA's office with a check in hand for him, and it dawned on me that I'd never even spoken to the CPA about whether or not he was gonna get paid, whether he was sharing in the commission, if not, what was the other ways that he was charging the client or generating revenue, and also what the percent would be. You can't wait until you've actually created revenue to then discuss how to split the revenue. It's a nightmare. Trust me, we need to talk about up front how we're splitting the money, how we are actually monetizing this. Also, in terms of formalizing the relationship, what roles are we playing, right? That might sound obvious, but it's actually quite important. What's my skill set? What's your skill set? What skill sets do we potentially need to bring in other professionals for? What type of communication can I have? With each other's clients, right? Can we exchange emails freely? Can I speak on the phone? Do you want to always be CC'd? Or am I free to communicate to them without your approval? So how are we splitting the money? What type of role are we playing? What type of communication can we have with each other's clients? What else with formalizing the relationship? Well, what's the out clause? It's not ideal to start with a discussion about this, but what does this look like if it doesn't go well, right? So, out clause. Again, we work on a couple cases together, maybe they're a joint client. What does that look like in terms of potentially unwinding this? So those are just a few of the things you want to definitely touch on when you're formalizing the relationship. Next, getting educated together. I don't know that I can stress the importance of this enough. The beginning of that communication together should be you educating the other professional about your strengths and what you actually do for clients. And then they should be educating you on their strengths and what they actually do for clients. A lot of financial advisors, insurance agents just automatically assume that an accountant or a tax professional or an attorney knows what a assets under management or variable account or term policy or a fixed indexed annuity. They assume that they know what all of these things are. You might be surprised, actually they don't often have a very good understanding of that. Or on the CPA side, you might assume that your financial advisor or insurance agent partner knows what an 1120 is, knows what a Section 199A is, knows what TICJA is and the impact on the standard deduction versus the itemized deduction. Very likely that they don't. I did actually record another video you're welcome to check out. It is on YouTube. That's called The Key Things Advisors and Accountants Should Know About Each Other. And I actually did this one live with a room of about 110 financial advisors, insurance agents, and accountants. And I went through what I would call some pretty basic, like top 10 things that each profession should know about each other. When I was going through it with the accountants, it was interesting. The accountants were like, oh, this is so basic. All the financial advisors should know this. This is like accounting 101. Then when I was going through it with the accountants and testing them about the financial planning, the financial advisors were like, oh, are you kidding me? Of course they know this. This is way too easy. Lo and behold, by far the majority of the room didn't get it right. There was only one professional on each side that got 100%. So most people do not know about the opposite's profession. So first and foremost, get educated together on what your area of expertise is. Help them understand that. Help them understand the basic things that you're going to be looking for. If you're an insurance agent, what is a life insurance review? What is a fixed indexed annuity? When's it appropriate? When is it not? If you manage money, who do you manage with? What's a broker-dealer versus an RIA? What's an ETF versus a mutual fund? If you're an accountant, let's talk about what's a 1040? What's an 1120? What does your ratio look like in terms of business returns versus personal returns? How much do you charge for a personal return versus a business return? What additional value do you add? These are all really important things to educate each other on. And then once we get the basic understanding of what we do and what they do, then we need to go a little bit deeper. So let's start getting educated together, maybe on some strategies we don't know. So first of all, it's the other person's. You learn that. Then from there, let's go a little bit deeper and learn maybe about, for example, some basic estate planning, succession planning. Things like CRUTs, NIM-CRUTs, captive insurance company, cost segregation, cost remediation, what's a business valuation, when should it be done, what's it roughly cost. So let's get together and learn some of these things with one another, right? And then have some conversations. Where would this potentially apply with some of the discussions we're having? Which leads directly into the weekly meetings. Now, a lot of times in a new relationship, somebody might feel like, I can't commit half an hour a week or an hour a week. I think that's short-sighted. But if you're there or you feel like your partner's there, you at least have to do meetings every other week. That's it. If an accountant is not willing to meet with me at least every other week for the first 6 months, I'm not moving forward in the relationship. It's just because they're not committed. They're looking at me like they're looking at 6 other financial advisors that I'll share a name and a phone number with. That's not what I'm going for here. That's a very outdated, old school model. We're not here to refer clients to one another. It's 2019, almost 2020. We really need to talk about how to work holistically with one another to bring more proactive and holistic value to our mutual clients. That doesn't come from just sharing a name and a phone number. It comes from actually rolling up our sleeves and having some joint conversations with one another. We gotta introduce weekly meetings. Like I said, if not weekly, at least every other week, in order to get that accomplished. Here's some of the things we can be doing. Education, just touched on it. So education is super important. The other thing, let's talk about cases and clients. Like, what are we working on? What's next? Who's responsible for doing it? When is it going to be done by? Weekly meetings allow us to hold each other accountable. None of this like, oh, I got too busy. Basically what you're telling me is that's not a priority. If it's not a priority, then let's have a conversation about our priorities and make sure those are in line. But let's not use some airy-fairy term like, oh, I got too busy or I forgot to do that. We need to hold each other accountable, and we do that through weekly meetings. We have a template for the weekly meetings that we use when we sit down with strategic partners. Like I said, it talks about what are we working on, who's responsible for it, when is it going to be done by, what is the next step in that. And I'd be happy to share that weekly meeting templated agenda with you. I'll actually include a link to a Dropbox so you can download it for free below the description of this video, okay? But bottom line is, before each weekly meeting, we should always have an agenda. And the agenda makes sure that it is actually worth your time and my time, right? We're actually accomplishing something. We're not just getting together to have some endless, pointless conversation. And then the last thing I want to talk about is a scripted introduction. Switch back to green here for this one. So, along the lines of everything else I've talked about, we can't leave this up to chance. The introduction is way too important. I heard a good term one time, and it was control the controllables. Always remember that, and I'm a big fan of it. If you ever watch my videos, by the way, speaking of controlling the controllables, you'll notice every single video I open up with, what's up everyone, Anton Anderson here, co-founder of Elite Resource Team. Why? Because it's controlled. Once you control and script the intro, it's so much easier to flow from there. So when I say scripted introduction, what am I referring to? I'm referring to the way that you are introducing your partner to your clients, or they are introducing you to their clients. It's gotta be scripted. We gotta talk about it up front, and we have to make sure we're both comfortable by it. So what are we looking to do in this introduction? First of all, we are looking to describe the relationship between us. Why are we sitting down with you, Mr. or Mrs. Client? What's that relationship look like? Now, my suggestion would be, when we are scripting that introduction, I would say something like, let's say it's my client that I'm bringing to the table. Let's assume the CPA's name is Sally. I'd say, John or Jane, client, I'm glad you sat down today with Sally and I. Sally is someone that I've gotten to know pretty well here recently. As I've been looking at my relationship with clients, and especially my best clients, which I consider you to be one, I realized that because of the complexity in the financial markets, the tax code, and just the general environment that we're in right now, there's more I could be doing to serve my clients by working strategically with another professional in a team-based relationship, hence my relationship with Sally. Sally and I are going to work together moving forward to have more proactive, more holistic planning conversations with clients, right? So the other thing that you want to do there is not only positioning the individual sitting next to you, but you also want to talk about credentials. So you want to talk about the credentials of the other individual, and you want to do what's called trading on their credentials. So in that introduction to Jane or John, when I'm introducing Sally, I'm going to say something like, Sally is a CPA. She has a tremendous background in tax and accounting. So between the two of us, we have the ability to help you with tax, accounting, insurance, and financial planning, all under one roof. So those are my two credentials, right? I'm securities licensed, I'm insurance licensed. If you're only one of those two, that's fine. You just focus on what you do. And then I'm trading on her credentials, which is tax and accounting. You see that? So by scripting that introduction and trading on Sally's credentials, I'm now giving the client the peace of mind that between the two of us sitting at this table, we can help them with financial planning, insurance, tax, accounting. Also, if you have another relationship with an attorney, even better, because then you can put law into the mix. But this is what's basically describing a multidisciplinary firm. It is what used to be reserved for the high elite of 100 million net worth or more, of a family office type of dynamic. But you're seeing this family office become more robust, more diverse, more flexible. People are trying the virtual family office. But this is a very similar type of value proposition. By combining our credentials, we can offer all of these services under one roof. How much more powerful is that than, oh, you need a new accountant? Here, call Sally, here's her phone number. What does that do for you? Very little compared to explaining the relationship that you work as a team. The reason you're doing it is to offer more proactive and holistic planning. And by trading off each other's credentials, you're able to describe the multidisciplinary experience. So now, rather than them having to walk across the street to get their tax done, to get their estate done here, to get their insurance done here, to get their financial planning done here, they only have to make one stop, and that's within this relationship here. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So again, just to recap here, first thing, formalize the relationship. Have the tough conversations up front and write it down. You can hire a business attorney if you want. We have some templated agreements that we've used and we share with our community. But basically what you're looking to do, again, is formalize that relationship, write it down, put it in writing, and sign it. So we have some understanding about how we're sharing the revenue, what roles we're playing, what communication is okay, and if things don't go well, how are we unwinding this? Get educated together. First thing you need to learn is each other's professions, just very high level, 30,000 foot view. You should be able to describe at any point a 3 to 5 minute summary of what your partner does and what their unique value proposition is, right? So hopefully you have your own elevator pitch down. Then you need to understand the elevator pitch of your partner. Then understand a little bit about what they do and what the industry that they're in really focuses on. Then dive into some deeper things, right? Succession planning, estate planning, advanced tax planning, advanced business planning, risk mitigation, expense mitigation. All of these different areas that we should have some good basic foundational education on. Then we want to do the weekly meetings. Get educated together, talk about cases, have an agenda, download our agenda, use it for free. And then last but not least, script that introduction so you know there are no surprises in terms of how they introduce you. There are no surprises when they talk about the relationship or when you express a summary of the relationship. And finally, trade on each other's credentials. Talk about the value that a client of yours gets to experience by working with you and your team of professionals, the ability to do insurance, financial planning, tax, and accounting all under one roof. I hope this video was helpful. If you have future questions or any feedback, please share them under the video. We love hearing your feedback, especially if you have a suggestion for a future blog video you'd like to see from us. Love to hear it. Look forward to communicating with you soon.